Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
Today we're sharing 5 stories. First, how giants like Google and Microsoft are using multi-billion-dollar deals to create zombie companies, leaving employees with worthless stock while cleverly sidestepping antitrust laws. Then, after a staggering $18.8 billion loss, Intel gets a $2 billion lifeline from SoftBank, and will explore the deeper strategy for SoftBank's own AI empire. Third, Nvidia is developing a new B30A chip for China after Donald Trump called its current H20 model obsolete, all while navigating a wild deal to give the US government 15% of its revenue. After that, a new poll reveals a stunning 77% of Americans fear AI-driven political chaos, with concerns going way beyond jobs to include massive energy use and even AI companions. And finally, ARM, the company that designs chips for everyone from Apple to Nvidia, is breaking its golden rule by poaching Amazon's Rami Sino to build its own competing hardware. An AI startup's interim CEO recently had to hold an emergency meeting where, in his words, people were crying because they have families and they got nothing. The reason? The company's founders had just been poached by Google as part of a $2.4 billion deal, leaving the rest of the company behind. For the employees left behind, this is devastating. Their stock options, which might have been their path to financial security, can become nearly worthless overnight. Research shows this creates a crisis of morale and immense uncertainty, leaving dedicated staff in a company with no clear direction. Welcome to the new brutal playbook of Silicon Valley. This strategy creates what insiders are calling zombie companies. It's a high-stakes talent grab where tech giants like Google, Meta, and Amazon are hollowing out promising startups in plain sight. After the talent is poached, the startup is left as an empty shell still with a name and some IP, but its heart is gone. Sometimes, another company will salvage these remnants for pennies on the dollar. A headline-grabbing example came when Meta announced a staggering $14.3 billion investment in the startup Scale AI. A month later, Scale AI cut 14% of its workforce. So the thing is, this isn't just about getting the best minds, it's a clever workaround. This strategy is designed to sidestep the Hart-Scott-Rodino Act, or HSR, which requires large mergers to undergo an antitrust review. For 2025, that threshold is about $126 million. By structuring these as talent hiring and IP licensing deals below that number, tech giants can legally avoid the automatic government scrutiny. It's a strategic way to get the prize, the people without the regulatory headache. This pattern is now everywhere. Microsoft did it with Inflection, paying around $650 million to hire away its co-founders. Amazon did it twice in 2 months. In one case with a startup called Covariant, employees were herded into a tearful emergency meeting and told the founders and a quarter of the staff were leaving for Amazon, effective immediately. A subsequent whistleblower complaint alleged the transaction was deliberately and unlawfully structured to dodge antitrust scrutiny. This isn't just business, it's a strategy that threatens to upend the entire innovation ecosystem. As one founder put it, this is not business as usual, this is a disruption. The people who funded these startups are fighting back. Venture capital firms are now rewriting their contracts with what are called protective provisions. It's a defensive move, essentially giving investors veto power to block a sale or prevent key founders from being hired away if it guts the company. It's an attempt to stop their multi-million-dollar investments from turning into one of these zombie companies overnight. It leaves us wondering, what happens to the future of technology when the giants can simply buy the brains of every rising star? This situation presents a fascinating duality. On one side, concentrating the world's best AI talent inside a few massive companies could, in theory, accelerate breakthroughs. But on the other, it exposes the risk of a dangerous monoculture, putting the entire future of AI development on a very narrow path, controlled by just a few powerful players. We've just seen how giants are spending billions to acquire talent. Now, let's look at a different kind of high-stakes deal where a struggling icon is getting a massive lifeline. The company is Intel, the once unbeatable US chipmaker that just reported a staggering loss of $18.8 billion. The rescuer is SoftBank, which just dropped $2 billion to become Intel's 6th largest shareholder. Intel has been wrestling with a fundamental conflict. For decades, they designed their own world-class chips and manufactured them in their own factories. But now they're trying to also become a contract manufacturer for other companies, including their biggest rivals. Imagine Ford trying to build engines for GM. It creates a massive trust issue. This is a massive vote of confidence for a company that has struggled with what the news calls management blunders, losing ground to rivals like AMD and TSMC. And on a technical level, while Intel's new 18A manufacturing process is impressive, research shows that it still lags behind TSMC's competing N2 process in a key metric called SRAM density. Think of SRAM as the super fast memory right on the chip. The more you can pack in, the faster it is. But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is that before this deal, reports revealed that SoftBank was in talks with Intel about buying its entire contract chip-making business, a business Intel has already invested billions in with little to show for it. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play. This isn't just about Intel, it's about SoftBank's massive ambitions in artificial intelligence. SoftBank is a major investor in AI leaders like OpenAI and is reportedly involved in a mind-boggling $500 billion project called Stargate to build out AI data centers. They need a reliable, massive-scale manufacturer for all the AI chips they'll need. So, this $2 billion investment isn't just a bet on Intel's recovery, it's a strategic foot in the door for SoftBank's own AI empire. What really brought this to a head was the backdrop of government interest, with reports that the US government itself was in talks to take a 10% stake in Intel following a meeting between Intel's new CEO and Donald Trump. This isn't just a corporate story, it's a geopolitical one. This investment from Japan's SoftBank into a US chipmaker fits perfectly into a larger strategy by Western allies to build a semiconductor supply chain that is not dependent on China or Taiwan's TSMC. It's a coordinated effort to bring critical chip manufacturing back to friendly shores. While SoftBank's CEO says this investment shows his belief in American semiconductor manufacturing, one equity strategist says the $2 billion helps, but, quote, it is not what is going to move the dial for Intel. So the real question is this a simple lifeline for a struggling icon, or is it the opening move in a much larger play for the future of American chip manufacturing? Speaking of American chip giants navigating complex global politics, Nvidia is facing its own high-wire act. The AI chip it designed specifically for China was just called obsolete by Donald Trump. Now, in a move sending shockwaves through the tech world, Nvidia is reportedly already developing a brand new, more powerful chip for the Chinese market. Now, get this, that obsolete label isn't just a simple insult. Research suggests it's a calculated narrative. For Washington, it provides political cover to approve a newer version for China without looking weak. For Beijing, it pressures Chinese firms to ditch American tech for domestic chips from competitors like Huawei. It's a multi-layered political and economic gambit. Sources say the new chip, tentatively known as the B30A, is based on Nvidia's latest Blackwell architecture. The goal is to outperform the current H20 model, with samples hopefully reaching Chinese clients next month. From an engineering perspective, to stay compliant with US export rules, Nvidia has to technically neuter its best technology. The B30A is expected to use a single die design, giving it about half the raw computing power of its top-tier flagship chips. It's a strategic trade-off. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. This is a high-stakes gamble. China represents 13% of Nvidia's revenue, a market it cannot afford to lose to its rapidly advancing rival, Huawei. After all, this battle isn't just about hardware, it's about software. Nvidia's biggest advantage is its CUDA software platform, the industry standard. For a Chinese company to switch to Huawei's alternative, CAN, is a massive undertaking, so that software moat keeps many customers locked in. Meanwhile, Chinese state media has begun to allege that Nvidia's chips could pose security risks, claiming they could contain hardware backdoors. Nvidia has denied this, but it has created a rift inside Chinese tech firms, pitting engineers who need performance against executives who must manage political risk. And then there's the most stunning twist, an unprecedented deal that will see Nvidia and rival AMD give the US government 15% of their revenue from sales of certain advanced chips in China. This fundamentally changes how America handles export controls, effectively creating a pay-to-play model. The deal, brokered by the Trump administration, has ignited a firestorm Legal experts are questioning its constitutionality as the US Constitution forbids export taxes, and lawmakers worry it sets a dangerous precedent. It all boils down to this. Can Nvidia design a chip that's powerful enough to beat Huawei in China, but limited enough to get approval from Washington? In this high-stakes balancing act, something has to give. That intense race for AI dominance we just discussed is having a massive impact back home. A new poll just dropped the bombshell number. More than 3/4 of Americans, a full 77%, now worry that artificial intelligence will be used to incite political chaos. And this isn't just about fake news articles. We're talking about hyper-realistic video and audio, or deepfakes, that are nearly impossible to distinguish from reality. To counter this, a coalition of tech giants like Google and Microsoft has formed the C2PA, creating a system called Content Credentials that acts like a digital watermark to verify media authenticity. It's a technological race to build trust as fast as AI can break it. If that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. The same poll shows a staggering 71% of the country is concerned that AI will put people out of work permanently. This creates what economists call the AI employment paradox. Believe it or not, despite massive public fear, the job market is still strong. The issue isn't job elimination, it's job transformation. One study projects that while AI might displace 92 million jobs by 2030, it could create 170 million new ones. The real crisis is a massive skills gap. Beyond politics and paychecks, there's a hidden crisis brewing. Over 61% of Americans are now concerned about the massive amount of electricity needed to power this technology. And the hidden cost is water. To cool these massive data centers, companies use evaporative cooling systems that consume incredible amounts of water. A single large data center can use up to 2 million litres a day. That's the same as about 6,500 households, putting immense strain on water-stressed states like Arizona and Texas. The stakes get even higher when you look at the military. Nearly half of all Americans say the government should never use AI to determine the target of a military strike. This isn't just a public debate. It's a fierce internal one inside the Pentagon. Current policy requires appropriate levels of human judgment for autonomous weapons, but nobody can agree on what appropriate actually means, creating a massive ethical dilemma. This is also hitting our personal lives. The poll reveals 2/3 of respondents are worried that people will ditch real human relationships for AI companions. This is already a booming business. Apps like Character.ai have 20 million active users who spend significant time with an AI companion. The business model, built on subscription fees, raises profound ethical questions about designing platforms that intentionally create dependency and commodify human connection. All of this widespread public fear is exploding at the exact same moment that tech heavyweights are in an all-out race to push their AI products, and the US and China are locked in a battle for global AI dominance. With public anxiety at a boiling point, it raises the ultimate question: who is really in control of this technology's future? While the public grapples with the consequences of AI, a fundamental shift is happening in the very architecture that powers this revolution. The company whose technology is in nearly every smartphone, Arm, is breaking its one golden rule. For decades, they were the architect, not the builder, selling IP to giants like Apple and Nvidia. Until now, Arm just poached a top executive from Amazon, Rami Sino, who was the director behind Amazon's in-house AI chips. Sino's mission at Amazon was to design chips that would be cheaper and offer superior performance to Nvidia's. Arm just hired the guy whose job was to beat the king of AI chips. What really brought this to a head was Arm's plan, which appears to be much smarter than just building a giant one-size-fits-all chip. They are focusing on something called chiplets. Think of them like high-tech Lego bricks. Instead of one massive complex chip, you create smaller, specialized chiplets that each do one thing really well, then mix and match them to build a custom system. It's a huge shift in how chips are made. And this isn't just a one-off move. The company is reportedly on a hiring spree, recruiting talent from rivals like Intel and Qualcomm. A big part of this aggressive new strategy is likely driven by Arm's majority owner, SoftBank, which is famous for pushing its companies to move beyond safe models and into more lucrative but dangerous territory. This is so critical because Arm's neutrality was its superpower. By deciding to make its own chips, it risks that trusted status. This could push companies to look for alternatives like the open source architecture RISC-V. We're already seeing huge investments pour into RISC-V startups. and this move by ARM could accelerate that trend dramatically. CEO Rene Haas has confirmed plans to move beyond designs and build complete chips and systems, but moving into manufacturing presents a staggering challenge. Designing a chip and actually building it are two completely different worlds. We're talking billions in capital to build a single fab, a complex global supply chain, and a massive talent shortage in the industry. This puts them on a direct collision course, not only with data center titans like Intel and AMD, but potentially with their own biggest customers. This creates a massive conflict of interest. How can companies like Qualcomm or Nvidia trust ARM's blueprints when ARM is building a competing product? Interestingly enough, the market is already showing its concern. When this news broke, ARM's stock dropped 8%, a clear signal that investors are worried about the company potentially cannibalizing its core business. The ultimate question is this: what happens when the architect that designed the entire city decides to start building its own skyscrapers to compete with everyone else? The chip war's just got a powerful new player.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.